Breath of the Wild 2, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, is coming out in less than 5 months, but other than a few sneak peeks we've seen over the course of the past 3.5 years, we still know very little about this game. So today, let's take a look at 100 new ideas that we could see come to Tears of the Kingdom. And as always, you guys crushed it in the community tab and gave amazing responses. So if you want a chance to make an appearance in the next video in this series, click subscribe and watch out for more posts in the community tab coming up soon. Alright, let's get started. First up, let's have an optional Unbreakable weapons mode. That was one of the most annoying parts of Breath of the Wild, and while I kinda get it because it's open world and you want the player to try out new weapons, I think having an Unbreakable weapons mode would be just kind of nice for players who don't want breakable weapons. Next, please let us have some form of multiplayer. I'll elaborate more in a few points later down the line, but I don't know, I feel like this game is just like, the mechanics are so beautifully crafted and it almost feels wasted being just a single player game. And speaking about those points I'd bring up later, specific multiplayer shrines or dungeons. I think it'd be so fun to, hop in a dungeon with one of your friends online and just like solve puzzles together or like fight enemies. I think that'd be super cool. Now, another mode, okay. I know we're already 4 points into this, but Battle Royale. Hear me out, it makes sense, okay? I'm not just coping. A Battle Royale where everybody is starting off like in Trial of the Sword or in, what was that island? I can't remember, Eventide Island? Yeah. If we were able to have it so it's like maybe 10 players, it doesn't need to be a big Battle Royale, just like, I don't know, I'm sorry. Let's move on. Raids. Let's have it so you're like in a village or whatever, and then all of a sudden you see a bunch of bokoblins come in and start raiding the village. I think it'd be cool if you tried to push them off and then you got like rewards for saving the town. I think that'd be pretty cool. This next mechanic I think is kind of interesting that's just never happened. There's never been like a trading mechanic in Zelda, if I'm not mistaken. Like if we were able to trade gear for like new weapons or new gear to like trade it away for something better later on. Next, let's be able to see the status of our friends playing online. Kind of like in Super Mario Odyssey where it's still a single player game, but let's see how many shrines they've completed, how many hearts they have. I don't know, if you could just scroll through that, I think that'd be kind of neat, something to waste time when you're not actually playing. Okay, I don't know why the beginning of this list is so online based when it's a single player game, but I'm pretty sure this is one of my last ones. I guess I was kind of thinking you can have your like online NPC where it's like your Link dressed up. I guess it really doesn't make sense because everybody's going to be Link, so it's kind of look weird, but doesn't really make sense because it's a single player game. So let's just move on. Masks, like from Majora's Mask. Need I say more, really? Like, masks were such a cool mechanic in that game, and I would love to see them come to Tears of the Kingdom. Another awesome thing that came with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was the crossover outfits from Quest, where the save data actually gave you items. I think that was pretty cool, and I think that'd be cool if they added it here. Fusing weapons. Okay, this may sound super dumb, but I'm a big Terraria head. I love Terraria. And the challenge of building the Terrorblade in Terraria, where you have to collect all of these swords, and these swords create these swords, and then there's like a big, like almost family tree of swords, and then at the end you get like basically the Master Sword, but it's the Terra Sword. I think that would be really, really neat. I don't know if it makes sense because they already have like Master Sword mechanics in Breath of the Wild. It'd be weird changing it here. I like collecting with a purpose, and I think fusing weapons into better weapons, like in Terraria, would be super cool. A boss rush. One of my favorite things to do after beating a game is obviously the boss rush. I think like a post-game mode where you could just go bang, bang, bang against all the bosses in the game would be pretty neat. Basically, that was just the end of Breath of the Wild if you didn't go to any of the, what are they called? Ancient Beasts? Crap, what are they called? Breath of the Wild dungeons. What are they called? Divine Beasts, not Ancient Beasts. I was close. Yeah, if basically the end of Breath of the Wild, if you didn't go to any of the Divine Beasts, was that their blights would be like a boss rush at Hyrule Castle, and then after that you'd play. I'm just spoiling the game. If you haven't played it, it's been like 5 years, 6 years since it came out, so go play it. You know what? Stay watching the video. I'd enjoy that. Next up, let's bring back Zelda bosses like in Majora's Mask. I think retro boss fights would be really, really neat, but I don't know. Okay, a cool thing would be collecting and playing music like in Mario Odyssey. I think if you just like, if you could go into different villages and they'd have like different discs you could buy and you could put them in your inventory, and then at like any jukebox around Hyrule, you could put it in and then you could sit back and listen to music. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty neat if I'm being honest, but maybe that's just wishful thinking. How about a new game plus with maxed out stamina, maxed out hearts after beating the game for the first time? I think more post-game rewards is gonna be a common theme throughout this video, as you'll see. Okay, this may be dumb, but can we give Link a gun? I don't know, all of his weapons are very melee based except his arrow, but I don't know, I think it'd be kind of funny. Maybe it's, again, another post-game thing. What if you could just like snipe people? I don't know, I'm turning Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, whatever it's called, into an FPS shooter, and I'm not an FPS shooter kind of guy, but I want to add new things to change up the gameplay, you know? But maybe I don't want to change it up too much. Anyways, how about more outfits from past Zelda games? We saw this in Breath of the Wild. It was some of the most cool things in Breath of the Wild, and if we could get more of that in this game, that'd be perfect. Customizable Master Cycle with different parts and stats like in Mario Kart. So maybe you get the Master Cycle, it's all beat up and stuff, and throughout the game, you need to get like new wheels, new engine, new body, just make it better, and then eventually it can just like act like a BMX bike, you know, what it was in the DLC of Breath of the Wild. But don't get rid of horses, because I really enjoyed horses, which we'll get to more horse points later on in the video. Master Mobile. It's just a car. Linkle. Now, this was concept art for Hyrule Warriors, and then it became an actual non-canon character in Hyrule Warriors. I think it'd be cool to have a female option for Link, but maybe that's just me. Motion controls like in Skyward Sword. I don't want to misconstrue this, because motion controls can be controversial, but in some games, they work really well to be like minimal motion controls that add just a little bit to the game. Potions for more than fighting enemies. In Breath of the Wild, potions were really only used when in combat. I feel like if we could get like, obviously there was like fire resistance potions and blah, 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 but if we could get like strength potions where you're able to like push boulders and reach shrines, I feel like potions could be really, really useful in shrines, and if they could figure out a way to do that, that'd be pretty sick. Musical instruments. The Ocarina and Ocarina of Time was so cool. I feel like The Legend of Zelda is really at its strong suit when it's using music in its story. So if like there's some section where he's got like, I don't know, a banjo, it's the most random thing I could think of, but you know, something along the musical line, I think that'd be pretty neat. Now this is a cool idea. Link's journal that you can collect to read lore. I see this in a lot of like those horror games where they try to have lore, where there's like different pages hidden throughout like levels and stuff to like build lore. I feel like you could do this in Breath of the Wild, where like in the first game, it was finding those places where the pictures were taken. And in this game, if you found like pieces of paper from Link's journal from before the 100 years, I think that'd be pretty neat for building more lore. Big side quest. One massive side quest in the original Breath of the Wild was Tarrytown, where you built it up, and it was this really cool thing where like eventually it changed that entire area. If we got more side quests that had broader aspects to the overall game, I think that'd be really cool. I think if they don't have this, they'll be dropping the ball. Completion percentage. For all of those completionists out there, this is a must. Unique ways to use the environment in challenges. Again, one of my favorite parts of Breath of the Wild was the ability to like, you remember you'd had those boulders and you could like push them down the hill and they'd like roll over the bokoblins. If we can get more of those, that obviously those were pretty staged because there's a boulder at the top of the hill, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna push it down the hill because that's what everybody thinks to do. But if you had more ways to like interact with your environment, like you can tear down more trees and you can use those logs to like build a raft to go down a river. I don't know, I'm just spitballing right now, but more ways to use the environment in different challenges would be pretty neat in my opinion. Variants in enemies. A fire variant of an enemy, a water variant of an enemy, a flying variant of an enemy. I don't know, I think more variants will add more variety, which, you know, variety is always better. Connectivity with Breath of the Wild. This one is super neat, and this comes back to Tarrytown. If Tears of the Kingdom could read some of the save files from Breath of the Wild, like let's say did they complete the Terrytown side quest? If yes, then Terrytown is completely built up in Tears of the Kingdom. If not, then it isn't. Next, let's get more rewarding items from dungeons. I loved the shrines, I loved the Divine Beast, but when it came to items, they were lacking. Swimming, obviously you could swim in Zora's Domain, but I want to go underwater. I kind of want that, like, you know, Phantom Menace where you go underwater and then you see the big civilization and blah, blah, blah. Big dungeons like Hyrule Castle. Hyrule Castle maybe makes Breath of the Wild. The rest of the game's great, but the end of the game, going to Hyrule Castle, you're fully geared up if you're a normal person, and you go through and you got the different carts and you get the Hylian shield and you go through and then you go see like Zelda's old room before it was destroyed. We need more dungeons like Hyrule Castle in the next game. Next is the Hookshot. The Hookshot is super iconic, super fun. The Hookshot is great. I brought this up earlier. The post game, there was literally no post game. I'm not even sure there was an end to Breath of the Wild because once you beat the game, it doesn't save. There's no, like, once you go back into your old save file, it's like you never even beat the game. You're just outside of the Hyrule Castle, going to take on Ganon, which I would have kept playing Breath of the Wild for hours and days and months after I beat it. Nothing new to do. There's no save to the end of the game. So yeah, new post game is an absolute must. Probably my number one out of 100 things I'd like to see in the next game has got to be a post game. New ways to traverse the world like boats and ziplines. I could see part of, if the world of Breath of the Wild is bigger, like if the map is bigger, I could totally see, like, you know, you could travel to different islands on the ocean and blah, blah, blah. You know, there were rafts in the last game, but I want boats, you know, I want boats. And another thing, zip lines in the mountains, I think would be super fun. Maybe this is just a spot that'll be taken up by the Hookshot. And you know, you can already use like the glider, but I don't know. Zip lines are fun. I think it'd be fun. Actual changes to the landscape throughout the game. We gotta see Death Mountain erupt in this next game. I'm telling you, we need landscape changes, okay? A companion. Can we get like pets and stuff? Like cats, dogs, you know, goats, maybe goats, I don't know. Be pretty neat. More armor sets. I don't know. I love collecting things and I'd love to see, like, you know, different color variations of armor sets. Again, maybe you could fuse armor sets together to create new armor sets. I don't know. Playable Zelda. At some part in the game, we should be able to play Zelda. But another idea I had that I think could actually be used is an A and B plot dual protagonist with Zelda and Link. So you play as Link on like the outside world of Breath of the Wild, probably the A plot if I'm being honest. You could have a B plot where you're Zelda and you're inside like wherever the dungeon she is and she's got to try and escape to, like, I don't know. I think I love stories that use an A and B plot, especially like when I read a book and it's got two different perspectives or something. I think that's super cool. I've never really seen it in a video game before, but a dual protagonist A-B plot with Link and Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom would be absolute insanity. Number 42, fishing. Any game that has fishing will literally, that'll be all I do in that game. If fishing comes to Tears of the Kingdom, I may not beat it because I'll be fishing the whole time. Dual wielded swords. Dual wielded swords look so cool. So if they haven't been in the game, then maybe they should add Tears of the Kingdom. 2D sections. A cool example of this would have to be the 3D world level where there's like shadows and it's kind of like a 2D section, but really it's in the 3D world, but it's the shadows and you play as the shadows. I think we could do like some cool dungeon that uses that in this game, but it's just like top down. It uses a top down camera and you have to like play like that. Master Cycle in the base game. If it's not in the base game at some point, then I will not be happy. Link personalization. I think personalizing Link would be pretty neat in my opinion. Rebuild Hyrule Castle in the post game. It should be in the post game where you try and rebuild Hyrule Castle and the Hyrule Kingdom in general. More dungeons. I know, we had, especially Hyrule Castle. I can't praise Hyrule Castle enough in Breath of the Wild. It was so cool and it's so sad it's at the end of the game, but it also it's like makes it bittersweet because like you're having so much fun going through it. Darker story. I think this is just a given the 3 trailers we've been given. A darker story following Breath of the Wild just makes sense. 4 Swords Adventure style multiplayer where there's 4 different colored links. Again, multiplayer would be really cool, but I really doubt it happening, but you know, we'll see. Transformations, like in Twilight Princess. If it's in Tears of the Kingdom, that's cool. If it's not, then whatever, but you know, we'll see. Hatsu's gift is transferable to Tears of the Kingdom and is actually useful. Imagine Hatsu's gift plus whatever the reward for collecting all the Korok seeds in Tears of the Kingdom, and you use those two things plus the Master Sword, and then you create like the Super Master Sword. And I also want Hatsu's gift to have a purpose. Maybe I'm just coping, or maybe I'm actually big brain. We'll see. Spider-Man No Way Home. Stick with me. All Links team up from different timelines. Okay, the Legend of Zelda series is set in 3 different timelines. You have the child timeline, you have the adult timeline, and then you have the fallen hero timeline. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are set at the end of the timeline. They're at the end. It makes perfect sense to have the 3 timelines converge at the very end of the timeline for some massive story elements just come into play. They fix all of their continuity errors, and Tears of the Kingdom is a 10 out of 10 game of the year. DLC season pass. Okay, I hate DLC when it's used to add to a half-baked game. I seriously doubt this game is gonna be half-baked. I think this is gonna be full-baked, maybe even well done. So DLC in this situation I think makes sense. There's more ways to engage the player after the game has been released. Optional left-handed Link. I'm pretty sure Link was left-handed at one point and now he's right-handed. I don't know what happened to that, but maybe somewhere down the line you can have it where Link's left-handed. New Amiibo. I think this is given. I think just the cool little Amiibo statues, they're fun to collect if you're a collector, and I think it's pretty neat. Amiibo costumes from outside the Zeldaverse. What if you put down a Kirby Amiibo, you got like a Kirby hat? Costumes from outside the Zeldaverse would be kind of neat, in my opinion. Explore Hyrule Castle in its full glory. Okay, I'm not sure if I already said this already, but Hyrule Castle is the best part of Breath of the Wild, and it needs to be in its full glory, not ruined, in the next game. Please and thank you. A better crafting system. I want Minecraft, just kidding. I want to craft things, you know, I want to build my weapons. Finding weapons is cool, building them is even better. 60 frames per second, I don't know. You guys think we'll get this? I think it should be at 60 frames per second. The game could probably run 60 frames per second on any other console except the Nintendo Switch, but we'll have to see and wait if that actually happens. Custom graphics on clothes like in Animal Crossing. If we can do that, that'd be neat. If not, I understand. More rideable animals. We need to be seeing mules, we need to be seeing donkeys, we need to be seeing, I don't know, unicorns, hippogriffs. Oh wait, no, that's just Harry Potter. Pegasi? I don't know. We need these in the next game. Mario mode. Be able to play as Mario and have Mario abilities. This was a real comment, word for word, a real comment. I said you guys had good ideas. This is not a good idea, but I had to put it in the video because it's so funny. Custom voices for Link based on past variants. Once you put on the Tunic of Time or blah, 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 it uses the voices from the past games. That'd be super, super neat. New food recipes in the game would be pretty neat. A solar eclipse. You had the lunar eclipse or the blood moon in Breath of the Wild. Let's have a solar eclipse. The solar eclipse, what if when it happens, you know, it's nighttime for a little bit, so all the enemies come out, but you could get like a cooler weapon, or you can get like more heart containers or something like that. I don't know. Solar eclipse would be super neat. Secret divine beasts. Divine beasts were the, you know, big dungeons, you could say, in Breath of the Wild. What if there were a secret divine beast? There's a divine beast in the a 5th one in Champion's Ballad, but what if there was like more, again, post-game that you could fight and then collect new items. Weather controlling item. This, I think, would be a late game reward, but maybe it's like, again, from a secret divine beast, where if you get this item and it starts raining and you can't climb up a mountain anymore, you change the weather to be sunny and you climb the mountain. Dark Link fight. I don't know. I love dark variants of characters, and I think Dark Link in particular is super iconic. And I don't know, maybe it's a shrine or something. I don't know, it'd be pretty neat. I'm not trying to make a Telltale game here or anything, but in specific ways, not big ways, but specific ways. Dream sequence, I could see this being used more as like cutscene instead of you playing as Zelda, but and I'd be fine with that as well. If we got more Zelda cutscenes in, you know, The Legend of Zelda, I think that would be great. A Rupee Casino. Gambling. Now we're getting to the long shots, and I know I said some long shots earlier. The last 20 or so of all of these videos are usually super, super long shots, so, you know, forgive me. I don't think these will be in the next game, but hopefully they are because they're pretty cool. Control other enemies like Cappy. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty neat to be a Goron and roll around, you know. A golf course. I want to play some golf in Breath of the Wild because there's a big landscape and I think it'd be pretty neat. BR. Pretty cool. Just look around, at least in the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom world. Pirates from Wind Waker. Again, I talked about boats being used earlier in the game, and I think if there's like an ocean in this next game, pirates could be pretty neat. A train like Spirit Tracks that could take you across the map. I'm not really sure how or why you would use this because there's really not multiplayer, but you know, there was that camera in the last game, so if you could like, I don't know, collect emotes to do like on camera, maybe that's cool. I don't know. New runes. I think we already saw some in the trailers from before, but hopefully there's some new ones in the game we'll see later on. A garden. What if you could like tend to a garden? You know, you can see your little plants grow and you get like a little potato and I don't know, it'd be pretty neat. A crossbow. You already had Link's crossbow training, you know. I think that's actually very likely we could see in Tears of the Kingdom. One of the best parts from Super Mario Odyssey was getting the low poly Super Mario 64 Mario in Mushroom Kingdom. So if we could get like the Ocarina of Time Link, that'd be super cool. More sport mini games. Again, there was one, I forget, it was like where you rolled the snowball down the hill, or there was it wasn't really a sport board where you tried to like get the furthest distance on the glider and beat the guy. More mini games like those, I would just love to see them in this next game. A bigger map. I already touched on this. We need oceans, we need islands, we need to be able to go more into the desert and the mountains and just see more of this world that I think, you know, the Breath of the Wild world is huge. Let's make it bigger. New environments. Now, this is kind of what I was talking about, but we need more habitats. I'm trying to think of more, but like, what if there's like canyons? Maybe there's like a jungle or something. I can't really think off the top of my head what new environments I'd want, but I know I want them. Natural disasters. I kind of already touched on this, but what if there's like a tornado that comes through and you gotta kind of escape it? I don't know. Snot Nosed from Wind Waker. Horse racing. Again, I already brought up gambling with a Rupee Casino, but what if you could like horse race? And what if you could train your horse? No, listen, what if you could train your horse to race in these races and you could like earn rupees for that? But hear me out. One of the best underrated arcade games of all time. Okay, I've never brought this up on the channel, but it's literally my favorite video game of all time. It was at Dave & Buster's for me growing up, and they got rid of it. It's only at like 10 Dave & Buster's now in the entire world, not just in America, but the entire world. I'm actually not sure if they're all at Dave & Buster's, but Derby Owners Club. Okay, the best arcade game of all time. You got to collect these little horse cards. You'd pick like different horses you'd want to breed together, and then you get this horse card. And then you would train it, you'd like do different like training mini games, and then you got to race it. You know, depending on how good the horse had become, it would win or lose and you'd win more money. And by the end of like 20 or so races, it had to retire because it was getting old. But then what you could do is you could take your horse card, and if your friend had a horse card, you could put both horse cards into the little scanner and it would breed a new horse. Isn't that so cool? And then you could have like full like binders of these cards and you could like, you know, have an entire family trees of horses. And I don't know, I'm such a nerd for this game, but Derby Owners Club by Sega at Dave & Buster's growing up, the best arcade game of all time. So yeah, I want that in Breath of the Wild with the horses. So horse racing, horse breeding, horse stats. My throat's getting hoarse from all this horse talk. Horse armor, you know, you go into battles with horses in Breath of the Wild, so, you know, having armor for the horses kind of just makes sense. Next, a hardcore mode where you only have one life. Multiple travel medallions. Having medallions where you can, like, you can get them and you put them down somewhere and then you can fast travel there at any time would be kind of cool. Airwing, unused enemy from Ocarina of Time. They were unused in Ocarina of Time. If we can somehow see them in Tears of the Kingdom, that'd be kind of cool. Space travel. What if we could get a rocket and go to the moon? Next, let's get an upgraded glider. I think it'd be cool if we could upgrade it with special abilities throughout the game. How about time travel? Time travel is always such a cool concept, and I'd love to see it in Tears of the Kingdom. With the addition of the Sky Islands, let's bring back Loft Wings from Skyward Sword. more bosses. Breath of the Wild basically only had 6 bosses, and I'm not even sure you could count the last one because there's more of a cutscene than a boss. So if we get more bosses in this next game, that would be amazing. And finally, let's get a reversible box art. That's probably one of my favorite things about some Nintendo Switch games is when they make reversible box art that you can, reverse. So if we can get an alternate reversible box art, that would be incredible. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, thanks for making it to the end. If you want to watch more Legend of Zelda content from us, go watch this 100 Legend of Zelda facts that you might not know video. Number 61 is really, really neat. Anyways, I hope you have a good one. See ya.